A very good day and warm welcome to all those linking in to our Asia-Pacific Malaria Elimination Network online course for vector surveillance and control. This particular module to be presented today will be on tools and technology for vector control. And the module will be presented by Dr. Sridharan Subramanian. Dr. Subramanian is a retired chief entomologist in the Department of Public Health and Preventive Medicine, Government of Tamil Nadu in India. And Dr. Subramanian has many decades of experience in multiple aspects of vector control. So I think all of us, we thank Dr. Subramanian for his time spent on preparing and presenting this module. Thank you very much. And I now hand over to you, Dr. Subramanian. Please proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Leo, for a very good introduction. So today it is, my presentation is on tools and technology for vector control. So these are common vectors which you are all very familiar with. They are insects, crustaceans, and arachnids. Collectively, the control of these insects and arachnids are collectively called vector control. So these are the insecticides used in India and approved by the government of India. And if you are going for a vector control, naturally you should have adulticide, larvicide, space spray, insecticides, and in larvicides we have biocides, insect growth regulators. These are various options we have. So we still have DDT in some of the states, and of course malathion, and deltamethrin 2 bifen-3, that is 3 to 7 in the serial number. They are all synthetic pyrethroids. And we in Tamil Nadu, we use alpha-cypermethrin now. The indoor space spray, we have pyrethrum and cyphinothrip. Outdoor, it is technical grade malathion and cyphinothrip. Please don't use pyrethrum for outdoor spray because it is photosensitive. So it may, the efficacy of the pyrethrum may be lost. So in oil, we have the MLO, the petroleum product. The problem with that now is the transportation because you'll have to buy huge quantities. The chemical for potable water, we have chemifos. Then biocides, various strains of Bacillus thuringiensis, and insect growth regulators, diflubenzuron and pyriproxyfen, which is a granular one. When you use insect growth regulators, please see that your staff are trained because you cannot see a visual mortality in the breeding source. See that they are all trained. So these are the various methods of adult control. The main division is indoor residual spray and ultra low volume spray. So indoor residual spray, we use a residual effect. Insecticides having a residual effect are sprayed indoor walls and other surfaces so that the mosquitoes, after biting on an infected person, will rest on the walls and shall pick up sufficient insecticide particles, resulting in reduced lifespan, so that it does not survive to become infected. That is the principle behind it. Its lifespan is reduced, so even if it picks up infection, it may not become infected because it will die in 1 or 2 days. Maximum, it should die in 6 hours, but sometimes it takes about 24 hours when the insecticide loses its efficacy. It takes 24 to 48 hours, but still it dies before it becomes infected. So that is the principle behind that. And of course, ultra low volume, which has 2 divisions. One is thermal fog, the other one is cold fog. So the difference between the two is the heat. The insecticide formulation in thermal fog is subjected to superheat, more than 500 degrees Celsius. In volatilization, in high temperature. The volatilized insecticide formulation is ejected into cool atmospheric temperature, resulting in condensation to form a dense fog. You can see white dense fog coming out of the nozzle, which because it condenses when it comes to a cooler atmospheric temperature. The volume median diameter, that is a VMD, which we will be seeing the later half of this presentation. The VMD of such condensed fog is less than 25 micron. And you know, you are all very familiar that 1 micron is 1,000th of an mm. So the VMD less than 25 is very important. We'll be seeing it later, why it is important. And this cold fog where heat is not used, large volume and low pressure is transformed liquid insecticide formulation into droplets. So only air is pressurized and it transforms the liquid insecticide into droplets and are dispersed into atmosphere. But the VMD, volume median diameter, is less than 50. That is more than 25, but less than 50. Slightly bigger because it doesn't use heat. It is only air pressure that makes the liquid insecticide into fine droplets. So these are the methods for larva control. The main thing is source reduction, larvivorous fish, physical removal of water plants, especially for Mansonia, which is a vector for filariasis. We have in India, we have certain pockets of Mansonia, especially the state of Kerala, where we have a Mansonia problem. In larvicide application, as we already saw, the list of larvicides, oil, chemical, and biological options are there. Among biological, it is biocide, that is Bacillus thuringiensis, or insect growth regulators. So these are the various options for larval control. But the best one among this is source reduction, which doesn't use any chemicals or anything. Even biocide or IGR is not used. But source reduction cannot be applied to all target insects. Only for dengue and chikungunya, you can use source reduction, that is against Aedes, but against filariasis or against Culex kingifaciatus, source reduction cannot be done. These are the tools for adult and larva control. You must be all very familiar with this. The thermal fogging machine, high pressure vehicle mounted thermal fogging machine. Then comes the stirrup pump, which is used for indoor residual spray. Then knapsack hand compression pump, which is used for larval control as well as indoor residual spray. The knapsack pump, which is exclusively used for larval control, hand operated fog machine. It's very widely used in public health, very light, very easy to use. Then we have mist blower as a cold fog for imitating cold fog. You have mist blower, which is used both in public health and agriculture. The stirrup pump, which we saw first, it is mounted on a footrest or the stirrup. You can see stirrup here or the footrest, inserted in the spray liquid in a bucket. It is inserted inside the spray liquid in a bucket. A hose is attached to the pump, leads to the spray lamps. It is used in indoor residual spray. 2 persons are needed. You can see one for pumping, one for directing the spray. Two people are required for this utilization. The pressure varies with the speed of pumping. Where initially, when the pump man pumps faster, there will be high pressure, and if he gets tired, the pressure will come down. So it is difficult to maintain uniform application. The trigger valve, foot valve, this is a foot valve, this is a trigger valve, washer, nozzle should be cleaned regularly. Plastic hose to body joints, these are hose to body joints. should be tightly and perfectly fitted to avoid leakage. Any leakage, these pumps, you will be losing your insecticide. This is hand compression pump. Consists of a tank for holding liquid insecticide, which is pressurized by means of hand pump. See, this is a hand pump here, where the individual pumps it and pressurizes it. The compressed air forces the liquid from the tank via hose. You can see here, via hose to a cut-off valve, a lance, and a nozzle. The sprayer can be used for residual spray and larvicide. This can be used for both, for residual spray and larvicide, and only one person is required. So it is very, the manpower, you reduce it to only one person per pump. The sprayer should withstand the pressure and comply with the relevant country standards. Every country has a standard. The WHO has given a standard. Based on that, every country has a standard. So it should comply with the country standard. We have BIS in India, Bureau of Indian Standards. Like that, every country will have a standard. Because this, when you pump the tank, this portion should withstand the pressure. In case it doesn't withstand, then it's likely to burst. And all the larvicides or everything gets poured out into the room. And it is also a danger to the person who is handling it. This is a knapsack sprayer carried on the back. A frame, a shield prevents the contact between the tank and the back. It is a continuous type of sprayer with fairly constant discharge. The person maintains the pressure in the tank by pumping the air by a lever. See, this is a lever which the person uses when he discharges the larvicide. The person maintains the pressure by lever with one hand and direct the spray lance with the other. This is spray lance and this is the lever. The knapsack sprayer can be used for spraying breeding sites with larvicide, but should not be used for residual spray. So this cannot be used for residual spray, can be used only for larval spray. This is the power sprayer, mist, or in other words, mist blower, used as a cold fogging machine. Simple two-stroke engine driven, just like our two-wheeler. It is a two-stroke engine used in public health and agriculture. It is carried on the back of the operator. It is used for spraying against endophilic mosquitoes in case of dengue outbreak. You can use it inside the house where you can just fog it so that all the endophilic mosquitoes are killed. And for mite control in case of scrub typhus. So these two target insects, this can be used. It consists of a 1 to 3 horsepower high-speed power petrol engine and a blower, a 12-liter chemical tank that may vary according to certain brands. A delivery hose, fleeted air hose, so that you can direct the nozzle at any direction. The flow regulator knob and a plastic atomizer grate. The tank is filled with the required chemical. When the engine is started, the blower generates a high velocity air into the chemical solution, which is fed into the nozzle. The chemical mixed air stream is broken into fine droplets. The atomizer grate and spray. The particle size is about 50 microns, so it is slightly higher than the thermal fog. This 50 micron, since it is slightly bigger, the particle size is slightly bigger than here thermal fog. This will not be airborne for a long time. That is why we use it indoor, especially for endophilic mosquito. These are the nozzles, two types of nozzles we use for spray. One is flat pan, which is used in stirrup pump. The angle is about 80 degrees from the nozzle, and it gives a swath of about 3 to 4 feet in the wall. It is used in residual spray, while the solid cone, you can see in the right side, is a solid cone used lateral spray, in the knapsack or in the hand compression sprayer, we use only solid cone nozzle. But it is vital to clean and maintain these nozzles. They get clogged because of the insecticide. So every time the operation is over, it should be removed and cleaned. The thermal fogging, we'll go into fogging operations now. The thermal fogging operation, the principle or whatever is behind it, the adulticide by thermal fogging is accomplished by providing a specific dose of air, small airborne or aerosol, hundreds and millions of tiny droplets, so that a mosquito or any insect cannot escape its bombardment. Hundreds and millions of tiny droplets into which a mosquito or other vectors will fly and impinge drops on wings, legs, and body and provide a lethal contact dose. So it gets the droplets in its wings, legs, and body, and provides a lethal contact dose. And as per the usual thing, it should die within 6 hours. The thermal fogs are produced by special equipment through which the insecticide, usually dissolved in oil with suitable flash point, is vaporized by being injected into high velocity stream of hot gas. So with the heat, it is vaporized and it is injected into high velocity hot gas. So you need some special equipment to produce these types of thermal fogs. The thermal fogging is used for any pest control task where active substances should be uniformly distributed. So it is not like residual spray where you spray at one side and certain times the coating will be more or less. But here the fogging will be uniformly distributed. The insecticide molecules will be uniformly distributed, even in inaccessible areas, without leaving an undesirable residue. That is very important. It doesn't leave any residues like residual spray. This fogging method is a solution for treating large areas and spaces in short duration. You can treat large areas in a very short duration, especially during an outbreak of vector-borne disease. In case of a dengue outbreak, you need definitely, your time is very short. So you will have to treat the large spaces and areas in short time. And with minimum quantity of insecticide solution, less operational work, and with little harm to the environment because it doesn't leave any residues, no penetration in the ground. So these are the advantages of this thermal fogging operation. Success of the application depends on the relation between droplet size and the intrinsic toxicity of the insecticide and the target insects. The optimal droplet size of the insecticide aerosol is from 10 to 20 micron VMD for mosquitoes, and larger flies it is 30 VMD, 30 microns VMD. So the success of the operation relation is between the droplet size and the toxicity of the insecticide. So that is very, very important. The droplet size should be less so that it is airborne. At the same time, the toxicity of the insecticide should be optimum so that the mosquitoes or the insects, they get killed once they are exposed to these molecules. An advantage of thermal fogging, that is very important. An advantage of thermal fogging from public health standpoint is the dramatic visibility. People come out and see, people peep through window when your fog machine or the vehicle goes on the road. So it has got a dramatic visibility. So what happens? The local inhabitants does have clear evidence that authorities are indeed taking positive action against air mosquito problem. So the visibility itself is a clear indication that the authorities are taking some positive action. So the public will be definitely satisfied when a fog machine crosses their road. So this is the vehicle mounted thermal aerosol fog generator. That is the exact technical name of this vehicle mounted machine. Vehicle mounted thermal aerosol fog generator used in big cities and municipalities. The cost of operation is very high. That is why it is used in big cities. Small villages or town panchayats, small cities cannot afford this operation because it is very high. But a huge area can be covered in short time. So it is, since the fog machine travels on a vehicle, you have to just drive the vehicle through the streets, through the roads, so that the entire area is treated. The fogging operation to be done only in motorable roads. That is one advantage. You cannot disadvantage. You cannot drive it in a culvert or in a metal road. Only in motorable road, where the machine and the vehicle will be stable when they run. Then, and the speed of the vehicle should be between 4 to 6 kilometers per hour and against the wind direction. The speed of the vehicle should not go beyond 6 kilometers, and it should be against the direction of the wind. The fogging operation may cause disruption in traffic regulation, especially in the evenings, because the white dense fog will make all the visibility zero for some time. So the motorist, everybody has to stop. So when you do this in a big city or in a big road in a big city, you will have to inform the traffic police or the police department that we are going to fog this area. So see that the police are there and that in those points. So it will definitely cause disruption. For 1 hour of operation, the fog machine, this type of fog machine may consume 100 liters of diesel, 5 liters of technical malathion or pyrethrum, 10 liters of petrol plus vehicle running cost. So these costs, makes this operation very costly. That is why only big cities and corporations use this. The VMD, volume, median, diameter of the particle size should be less than 25 micron, that the particles are airborne for a long time and impinge in the body of the flying insects, resulting in their death. This is the principle behind that. So when you use a big machine like this, two or 3 points. One is the cost, the other one is the speed of the vehicle and its direction against the wind. Then the traffic regulations. We inform the concerned authorities regarding the movement of the vehicle. Then the small one, very widely used and very easy to use, hand-operated thermal fog generator. Widely used in public health for control of vectors, especially endophilic. So the vehicle-mounted fog machine cannot enter a house. They just go in the road. But this small machine, you can take into every house. So it is good for endophilic vectors, especially EDs and Stephens, Anopheles stephens. Very simple to operate, needs minimum manpower and fairly low cost of operation. So all these things are advantages for this machine. Since the weight of the machine is around 10 kgs, it can be even taken to high-rise buildings. Output particle size should be less than 25 micron. That is because it is also a thermal fog machine. So it should be 25 micron so that the particles are airborne for a long time. So this is what the thermal aerosol fog generator. You can see in the photograph, see the dense fog that is coming out of that machine. The fog generator has a petrol engine that drives an alternator that supplies current to a heating chamber, which produces high temperature for more than 750 degrees Celsius. So such a high temperature is produced. The exhaust of the machine is used to blow the formulation through the heating chamber and to the fog outlet. So the fog is pushed or blown out because of the exhaust of the machine. The formulation tank with variable capacity. Certain tanks have 200, certain brands have 100, so they have variable capacity. And a return valve with formulation injection assembly injects a formulation into the fog outlet where it is heated and sent through the nozzle. There is also a 12-volt battery to start the engine because it's a huge, huge machine. You cannot start it manually, so you need a self-starter. So there is a 12-volt battery, just like a car battery that is fixed to that machine. There is a specific procedure to start and stop fog machine. Read it in the operation manual supplied along with the machine and please follow it scrupulously because even the start and the stop, step 1, 2, 3, then 3, 2, 1. If you miss that, especially when you stop without going through the procedure, there will be a huge bang sound on the road and it is likely to cause panic among the crowd, among the people. So you should follow it very scrupulously, the start and stop procedure. Since this is a big and heavy machine, the maintenance of this machine should be done by a trained mechanic. We cannot do it. We are not that trained mechanic. So we need a trained mechanic for that. For regular servicing and maintenance, the company of purchase may be addressed. Wherever you have purchased, you'll have to address. When you purchase it, see that its service centers are nearby your area. However, checking the electrolyte of the battery, that is the acid level, the terminals, fan belt, filter inside the formulation tank, fog injection assembly, spark plug in the engine, and the heating chamber, oil level, fog injection nozzle may be inspected and attended to regularly. These are the things which we can do. Remove it, change the fan belt, remove the terminals, see the electrolyte or acid level in the battery, clean the fog injection assembly, spark plug, everything that we can do it. But regular maintenance, taking the machine out and doing it, a company or a trained mechanic should do. So the other small machine, a very popular pulse fog machine. The pulse fog machine doesn't have any moving parts. That is the advantage of this. A good technology, German technology. No moving parts in this machine. So that this area where you see the carburetor, this red circle, has got so much of parts. It's a carburetor, a fuel control pin, and there are valves, one-way, two-way, and three-way valves are there. And this is a combustion chamber, the resonator. This is very important. This long tube which comes inside this combustion chamber and the resonator. This costs about 30 to 40% of the machine cost. So you should be very careful because it gets hot, and when you place the machine in the floor or thing, be very slow. If you place it roughly, this may break, and the cost of replacing it will be enormous. This diaphragm, it is here in this place. This diaphragm is here where it controls the air intake. Apart from this hole where it is fixed, the other area, there is a small pinhole. Your fogging operation will be collapsed. Even a small pinhole is not allowed in this diaphragm. So you should have this diaphragm, these pads ready. Whenever there is any problem, we can immediately change it. So you should have all these pads, this diaphragm, the valves, this fuel control pin, everything you can have. The company supplies separately as spare parts. So it is very important to have spares of these machines. So these are various tips for maintaining this machine. The first one is spark plug. It should be cleaned regularly, just like our two-wheeler where we remove and clean it. Just like that, you remove this and clean the plug. During off season, the wire should be disengaged from the plug. See that this wire is disengaged from the plug during off season. This is a resonator, should be cleaned regularly, used with the reamer provided along with the machine. If you buy 5 or 10 machines in a batch, you will be provided with a reamer. Reamer is nothing but a long steel brush used to clean the carbon deposits in the resonator. See, this man is holding, you will have to put it inside, outside, pull it, push it, pull it, push it, so that the carbon deposits are cleaned out from the resonator. Then the formulation injection assembly to be cleaned before fogging operation. This is an area. Every time when you start, just before starting fogging, remove this and clean it. The screw or the nut is designed in such a way that you can just remove it with your hand. This is the formulation intake filter, which is inside the formulation tank and should be cleaned using kerosene. The formulation tank should be emptied after completion of daily fogging operation. You should not leave formulation inside this tank. It should be empty after the fogging. Then this filter should be cleaned regularly using kerosene. The batteries, it's a battery chamber, be removed from chamber after fogging operation is over. Do not leave the battery. Once the fogging operation is over, please remove. There are in certain machines there are 3, and most of the machines there are 4 batteries. So you will have to remove it after the fogging is over. Further tips for maintaining this machine: mixing of insecticide and diesel should be done in a separate container and mixed well before transferring to the formulation tank. Please don't do it inside this tank, because once before filling up with diesel or kerosene, the first thing our people will do is to fill this up with the technical malathion or pyrethrum, and this will clog this. The initial insecticide will clog this. So you mix the insecticide and diesel outside in a separate container and then transfer it to formulation tank. If this procedure is done inside, as I told you, it will clog the filter at the end of the formulation take-in hose. So that will hamper your fogging operation. To start, switch on the ignition. A low vibration will be heard. Open the adjustable brass screw. This is the primer and this is the brass screw. Then push the primer firmly twice or thrice to inject air into the firing chamber of the ignition. Once the engine stabilizes into a huge smooth run, which sounds like a chainsaw. Once it stabilizes, it goes into a smooth run and it sounds like a chainsaw. Open the fog valve to get a dense white fog. While switching off, reverse the procedure. Close the fog valve, then close the brass fuel cut-off valve. When fogging season is over, or if there is going to be a gap of 2 or 3 months, 1 or 2 months, clean all the pots as mentioned. Clean the formulation tank thoroughly with soap. Reassemble all the pots. Start the fog operation with soap water in the formulation tank. This will clear all the lines and walls en route. Instead of filling up with formulation, fill up this tank with mild soap water. Then start your fog operation, so that the soap water will go into this line and clear all the walls en route. This should be done when there is a fog machine fogging season is over, or there is going to be a gap of 1 to 2 months. Because once you leave the fog machine as such, then after 2 months if you start, it won't start. There will be some clogging, there will be a lot of problem. Do all these things and keep the fog machine safe, so that when you come back for the season, when you start the machine, it should run immediately. So this is, as I was telling earlier regarding BMD and particle size, this is a rough diagrammatic expression of particle size. Fine aerosol, that is less than 25 micron, VMD, it is thermal fog. You can see so much of fine air. The mosquitoes or any insect cannot escape these particles. Coarse, of course, coarse aerosol is between 25 to 50. Cold fog, slightly rarer than the other. It is coarse aerosol. It is 50 micron. So with the bigger size particle, it may not be airborne like this. It will fall down into the ground because of the gravity. This is medium spray, 100 to 200. It is larval spray, where you spray in the breeding sites, 100 to 200 VMD. Coarse spray, more than 500 microns for indoor residual spray. And this is extra coarse spray used in agriculture. They used to spray to the top of the coconut tree. So they need force rather than particles. So this extra coarse spray is used in agriculture. So this is the droplet or particle size, which we have been telling earlier. A particle size is expressed in volume, median, diameter, VMD, which refers to the midpoint droplet size, where half of the volume of the spray is in droplets smaller and half of the volume in the spray droplets larger than the mean. See this portion is smaller and this portion is larger. See the center point, slightly it is skewed towards this. So this is less than 50 and this is greater than 50. The diameter of the droplets whose volume, if multiplied by the total droplets, will equal the total volume of the sample. So if you have about 5,000 molecules or particles, if you measure it, multiply it 5,000, you will have the total volume of the sample which has been used. That is so this VMD is very important as far as thermal fog is concerned. So how to measure this VMD? So you are using pulse fog machine, and it should produce less than 25 micron. And how to measure this? In case it doesn't produce 25 microns, more than 25 microns, then your fogging operation will be useless. It won't give you the correct efficacy, because the larger the volume, the more it comes down to the earth because of gravity. It won't be airborne as we envisage. So how to measure it? Select a closed room of dimensions approximately 10 into 10 into 10, that is 1,000 cubic feet. Place about 5 to 10 Teflon coated microslides evenly distributed on the floor. These are the Teflon coated microslides. Switch on the hand operated fog machine and allow it to fog for 2 to 3 minutes. You have to allow it to fog for 2 to 3 minutes so that the machine stabilizes and gives a even fog until the machine stabilizes. Direct the fog into the room through the doorway with the fog outlet slightly facing upwards and allow the fog machine to run for 2 or 3 minutes. Withdraw the fog machine and close the door and allow it for light. To do it, you will have to fog inside that room where you have kept the Teflon coated microslides for 2 to 3 minutes and close the door and allow it overnight. The Teflon coated slide should be collected individually next day by holding the edge and not at the center. You should hold it at the edges and not at the center. Pick the slide in the microscope with the graticule scale eyepiece, which is pre-calibrated with the stage micrometer. You know this. This is eyepiece graticule and this is stage micrometer. So you should have a eyepiece which has been pre-calibrated with the stage micrometer. Measure the diameter of the 10 droplets at various places in one slide. Likewise, measure 10 droplets each in all slides, record the data, take the average to give an average VMD of the droplets in microns produced by the fog machine. So you can have an average. If you have placed about 10 Teflon coated slides, so 10 droplets in each slide, that makes 100. So you take the average of 100, record all the data, take the average of 100, so that you will get an average VMD that comes out from the particular fog machine which you have tested. There is also another way to measure. You have to measure 50 droplets in each slide, starting from one corner to another corner. Repeat the same in all the slides that has been placed. If 10 slides have been placed, the total droplets to be measured will be 500. Count the droplets which are less than 25 micron. If this value should be more than 90% of the total droplets measured. If about 450, less than 450 or more than 450 is less than 25 micron, then it is 90% of the total droplets measured, and you can be sure that your pulse fog machine is working okay. This calibration has to be done at least every 6 months. You will have to do this measurement and see that your machine is working properly. So the measurement continues. The procedure mentioned earlier will incur a one-time purchase cost of micrometer and a recurring cost of Teflon coated slides. That is going to be a problem because the Teflon coated slides have a high recurring cost. It is very costly. It is about $5 to $10 per US dollars. I mean, $5 to $10 US per slide. So none of your authorities or your officers are going to support you on this, because just for you can use these slides 2 or 3 times, that is all. So every time it is going to be a high recurring cost for the procedures for the measurement of these particle size. So the following procedure may be adopted. This has been innovated by us. Place 50 new microslides closely on the floor such that their edges touch each other. As in the photograph, you can see they touch each other in various, this side and this side. So about 50 slides in a long row. Stand astride over these slides using a magnesium wire. I think you know the magnesium wire. In the festival Deepavali, we used to have that crack. It's very cheap. So use this magnesium wire closely, about 1 inch away to the slide, and burn the wire. You have to stand astride the slides. Yes, switch on, that is burn the wire, having a very close, keeping it closely to the slides about 1 inch away. The magnesium wire will emanate magnesium oxide. Make a swat slowly over the slide such that the slides are uniformly coated with magnesium oxide that emanates from the wire. So you will get a translucent slide. Allow the slide to cool down, remove the ash, and select 10 to 15 uniformly coated translucent slides, carefully holding it on the edges. Again, take care to hold the slide. Use these slides in the place of Teflon coated slide and conduct the same procedure as mentioned. So your cost of measuring has been brought down to 10%, because the Teflon coated slides are so costly. So use ordinary new micro slides which is available readily with us in the program. So you'll have to buy your purchase will be only the magnesium wire, a Deepavali cracker or whatever the festival you have in your place in your country. Definitely this type of cracker could be available. These are magnesium wires which emanate magnesium oxide, and it makes a coat and makes the slide translucent so that it can be replaced for Teflon coated slides, and conduct the same procedure. Take it out, then put it near a microscope with the micrometer, Then measure the particles, average or total number, where you have 90% of the particles less than 25 micron. So you can be assured that your pulse fog machine is working well. So, points to remember. The equipments used for vector control should be maintained well with smooth handling to give a long trouble-free life. So it should be handled very smooth and it should be maintained well so that it gives a long trouble-free life. Nozzle, valves and washer should be cleaned regularly to get a clog-free performance, especially the footwall, the lands, the nozzle in the lands, these are to be maintained, cleaned regularly so that it gives a clog-free performance. Flow rate of the hand compression and knapsack sprayer should be measured by using a bucket or a container to collect the flow output in a predetermined time and measure the volume using a measuring cylinder. This should be done regularly to see that whether the compression or the air speed is more or less and the nozzle is working okay. So you will have to measure it using spraying in a bucket and then measuring it using a cylinder, measuring cylinder. Plastic hose should not be bent and the connecting points with the lance and the body should be firmly fixed to avoid dripping. The dripping will cost you a lot. In fact, we have calculated using Bacillus thuringiensis, which is a very costly larvicide, using Bacillus thuringiensis, 1 ml in 10 seconds. If the pump is dripping 1 ml in 10 seconds, we lose about 3 to 4 US dollars in a month. Then calculate it for the year. So much of money is lost because of dripping or leaking. So leaking pumps and sprayers should be attended to immediately to avoid unnecessary loss. Filter, formulation injection assembly, carburetor and the pulse fog machine should be dismantled and cleaned regularly. Use soap water fog to flush out oil residue in the valves and nozzles, as we have already discussed. Batteries to be removed from the encasing in the pulse fog machine and battery terminals to be disengaged in the vehicle mounted fog machine. Fog outlet nozzles of these machines to be cleaned using reamer. We saw that operation. We saw that photograph. Use the reamer to clean the fog outlets so that the carbon particles they are devoid of carbon particles. The tanks of these equipment should not hold insecticide and should be emptied at the end of the day. Every day when you complete the fogging operation or the larvicide operation, whatever you do, the tanks, the formulation tank should be definitely or necessarily should be emptied and they should not hold insecticide. Always have a stock of spare parts for fog machines and sprayers. Should always have a stock of spare parts so that any problem you can locally do it and start your operation. The last but not the least, check all the equipments personally. You can see that knapsack or this big mist blower which I am having. It's a very good blower. You can see the nozzle or the lance has been modified so that it can be easily used inside, indoors, and it can be easily used for mite control in the bushes. But the problem with this machine is the dead weight itself is about 20 kgs. Then if you fill up formulation, fuel, it becomes 25 to 26. So imagine our poor field worker carrying this all the way. So I did not recommend this machine when I was in the helm of affairs. I did not recommend this machine. So whenever a machine is given to you or whenever you have the opportunity to buy a machine and give it to your staff, you please check it personally. That is my advice. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the organizers to have done this program. Thank you, Dr. Leo.
I think you can stop sharing now, Dr. Subramanian. But just to say these are precisely the issues and level of detail that an effective and competent vector control practitioner should be aware of.
Yes.
So thank you for your guidance and sharing your experience, which clearly is very deep. And we thank you, Dr. Subramanian. Thank you so much. We appreciate your
Thank you,
time.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, 10.